Why Sister Wives didn't address Garrison Brown's death in the one-on-one tell-all specials, the untold drama. YouTube script, fan favorite narrative style. Tonight on Reality Recap, we're diving into the most shocking omission in the history of Sister Wives, the reason behind why the devastating death of Garrison Brown was barely mentioned in the one-on-one tell-all specials. What's the truth? What was too raw? And is TLC hiding something or respecting a boundary? Raising hands, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell because this story is emotional, controversial, and still evolving. Broken heart, who is Garrison Brown? Before we break it down, let's remind the community who we lost. Garrison Gary Brown, the son of Sister Wives stars Cody and Janelle Brown, tragically died by suicide on March 5, 2024, at just age 25. His passing shocked the fandom and sparked waves of speculation about the family's fractured relationships and how the show would handle the grief. People.com. Garrison wasn't just another cast member. He was part of the heart and soul of the original Brown family. Fans watched him from childhood to adulthood. And when he died, millions of viewers expected raw emotion, closure, and weighty conversations on screen. Brain the big question. So, why didn't Sister Wives actually address his death, especially in the one-on-one tell-all specials, which are literally crafted to dig deep into emotions and family truth? That's what we're unpacking today. Fire what one-on-one is supposed to be. For years, the one-on-one tell-all specials have been where cast members lay their souls bare. These specials aren't fluff. They're conflict resolution episodes, emotional confessions, heated confrontations, and sometimes the most honest moments in the series. We've seen heartbreak, betrayals, raw arguments,
Tears.
boundaries pushed, secrets exposed. So naturally, fans expected unfiltered grief and discussion about Garrison's death. But instead, we saw a weird silence. Or, at best, minimal mention. Nothing like what fans anticipated. Puzzle piece timing is a huge part of the puzzle. Here's the most critical piece of context. Calendar: the one-on-one specials were filmed in October 2024, months before many of the most intense family drama and developments following Garrison's death had fully unfolded. That means the cast might not have been prepared, emotionally or mentally, to discuss such a deep tragedy in that setting. Parade. Add to that the fact that a tell-all is a film TV event with producers, cameras, and a network contract, not a grief counseling session, and it becomes clearer why sensitive topics may have been avoided. Zippermouth face respect versus exploitation, the network's dilemma. According to reports, the topic of Garrison's death was intentionally avoided during the tell-all, out of respect for the family's grief and privacy. Screen rant. Look, no one disputes that Garrison's death was a massive loss, but covering grief on reality TV comes with a fine line. Backhand index pointing right on one hand, it could honor his memory and help others with similar experiences. Backhand index pointing right on the other, it risks sensationalizing a real human tragedy for ratings. One source suggested that instead of discussion, TLC opted for a fitting tribute, a respectful moment that wouldn't exploit the pain. Yahoo! Not no mention at all, but very limited, very thoughtful. That distinction matters, and it's what many fans are debating. Family trauma plus why it was too raw to dig into. Now, let's talk about family dynamics, because this tragedy didn't happen in isolation. At the time of Garrison's death, the Brown family was already fractured. Cody Brown's relationships with his oldest children, Garrison included, had been strained for years. Tension over past decisions, discipline, and emotional distance was well documented on the show. Primetimer.com. There were arguments about contact. There were outright estrangements. There were deep wounds on all sides. In this context, putting Garrison's death under a spotlight just months later might have generated more heat than healing, especially with unresolved conflict still raw. Or something fans won't stop talking about. On Reddit, and honestly across the wider Sister Wives fan forums, one opinion kept coming up repeatedly. Backhand index pointing right fans think the show hesitated because Garrison's death was too close, and talking about it on camera could break the fragile peace the cast was trying to maintain. Reddit. Some fans even speculated that covering it so publicly, so soon, would have been disrespectful to the family's private grief. Performing Arts one commenter said it perfectly. "It's too painful, it's private, and they weren't ready." Reddit. That line of thinking isn't necessarily cynical, it's empathetic. Garrison's brother Gabe, for example, has openly been dealing with complex emotions after the loss, including heartbreak, abandonment issues, and the question of why his death happened as it did. Putting that on camera before the family had real closure might have re-traumatized them, and that's not a great context for a tell-all special. Brain tough truth. Real grief isn't neat. This is not a scripted storyline. This was real life. And sometimes, reality doesn't fit neatly into a production schedule. Grief is messy. It doesn't care about promo calendars or TV ratings. It doesn't show up on cue. For the Browns, some things were still deeply unsettled emotionally, not just with Garrison's death, but with long-standing family fractures. That makes it extremely complicated to discuss such trauma publicly, especially in the reality TV format. Pushpin the show did address it, just not there. Here's the twist. People close to the show have confirmed that Garrison's death will be addressed, just not in the traditional tell-all format. The Ashley's Reality Roundup. Instead, TLC is planning or has aired a tribute-style episode that focuses on honoring his life, memories, and the people who loved him, not dissecting family drama around it. That's a very different tone from arguing about faults or airing private grievances. Flush face and fans of strong opinions. Let's be real, Sister Wives fans are among the most invested in reality TV. Some argue the show shouldn't have pulled punches, that acknowledging Garrison's death frankly could help raise awareness about mental health struggles. Others believe it should have avoided exploitation altogether, no matter the potential for emotional storytelling. Many point out that while Garrison's loss was deeply personal, it also reflected broader issues like family estrangement, mental health struggles, and how reality TV intersects with real lives, not just ratings. One Reddit fan said, "They had every right to refuse to cover it if it felt exploitative." Reddit. Another fan pointed out, "Maybe the network and cast weren't ready because none of this has been resolved yet." This divide between privacy and public catharsis is at the core of this whole debate. Is TLC afraid of backlash? Let's be honest. Networks don't like controversy unless it's controlled controversy. A frank conversation on TV about suicide, especially involving someone this beloved, is a high-stakes topic. TLC might have decided that a tribute was a more respectful and safe way to honor Garrison without forcing uncomfortable moments on camera before the family was ready. Think about it. This isn't just a TV show. It's a real family who lost a son. The network might have simply said, "Backhand index pointing right, let's honor him thoughtfully, not sensationally." And honestly, a lot of fans support that. Pushpin final verdict. Here's what really happened. So, after combing through timelines, fan speculation, interviews, and production realities, here's the most likely explanation. Heavy checkmark: the one-on-one tell-all episodes were filmed before many of the family's emotional reactions were fully processed. Parade. Heavy checkmark: producers, cast members, and TLC may have agreed that discussing such a fresh tragedy in that setting would be insensitive or exploitive. Screen rant. Heavy checkmark: a tribute-style episode or dedicated segment allows a more respectful approach than a conflict-driven tell-all. Yahoo. Heavy checkmark: some family members were genuinely not ready to process grief publicly. Heavy checkmark: the network wanted to honor Garrison without creating a spectacle. Folded hands, closing thoughts. This situation is heartbreaking, not just because of the loss of a life, but because it reminds us how messy, complicated, and unfiltered human grief is. Reality TV can be raw, but it isn't therapy, and sometimes the real world doesn't fit in a TV bracket. That's why Sister Wives might have chosen respect and dignity over drama in this situation, and why fans are still debating it months later. Speech balloon, what do you think? Backhand index pointing down, drop a comment. Should the show have talked about Garrison's death more? Was it respectful not to? We want to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more deep dives like this. Until next time, stay thoughtful, stay compassionate, and remember, real lives are more complicated than TV scripts. Want more deep cuts from your favorite reality shows? Let me know who you want covered next. White heavy checkmark script roughly 2,000 words. White heavy checkmark dramatic, engaging, and grounded in fact.